Public comment?
I have one.
Please come up.
How's this resolution going to affect people who have swimming pools?
That's item 5A.
That's
Are you talking about water conservation, Victor?
Yes.
That's the next item on the agenda, sir.
Okay. Because I have a question, and several people have questions. Okay.
Thank you. Any other public comment, treasurer's report, or this resolution?
Yeah, I don't want to get up to it. Why don't we have a list of checks paid this month?
It's
in there, sir. It's in there.
I didn't see it in the report that I have, unless there's been an addendum to it.
It's on page, let me see if I can find it.
of the original.
23.
23?
Luke, would you hand up the bill, please, and that will solve that. Thank you.
I didn't see it.
Okay, it was in there, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And we did have a discussion a little bit about a couple of those things, all right? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
With that, I'll call for vote. All in favor of approving the treasurer's report and tabling the resolution, which is item C? That's what I'm calling for. All in favor?
Aye.
You have unanimous vote. Okay, we're going to move on to item.
No, Bill, I'm going to do the minutes.
Yeah.
I know, I got it. We're going to go to item 4B, which is the minutes of last month's meeting, which is, I know it's, we had the original one's pages 24, 25,
16? No.
26. That's the old one. I'm looking at the old one. Here, this one, you want your old one. I know. So these are the minutes. Now, Emery, you wanted it removed because you were not here, correct?
Right.
Okay. So with that,
I'll move that we approve the minutes for last month.
from April 18th.
I'm sorry, April 18th.
Okay. Okay. I have a second to approve the minutes.
I know he wasn't here.
Russ Warren seconds. Any comments from the minutes? Emery, I know you want to hear any comments.
No comments.
Russ? Yeah? Jim, public comment from the minutes? Okay, with that, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
We have unanimous,
Abstain.
and we have one because of Mr. Ross not being here. He will not participate in the vote. Okay, moving on to the next item, which is the water conservation measure. This is to, let me try and write here. The water conservation measures to offer outside irrigation in accordance with state requirements. The state is still requiring, I think, a minimum of 25% conservation, and our numbers will go back from your baseline in 2013. So we're just trying to get back on the books. You know, we've modified them a couple times. This is, from my perspective, just putting them back on the books for this year to say these are our water requirements and our protocols. And this is where the packet was revised, because Pete mentioned there was some pages in here that was included that shouldn't be. And so, Pete, you want to be specific on what we should be looking at?
Yeah, that's the main thing that I'll back into the findings in the resolution. The important thing for the board to consider is these items 1 through 16, which become the total of your water conservation requirements. Okay? We've adopted, I believe, 5 different resolutions since 2014, early 2014 in the drought, adopting various stages of water supply emergencies. These were primarily because under the water code, if you're going to restrict the water that people receive, under the water code section 350, you have to go through a specific process of finding that there's not enough water available. And so that's what those early resolutions did. Our most recent resolution had a variety of water conservation measures, had a 30% reduction requirement, and a prohibition on outside irrigation until April 17th or something like that. It was actually supposed to be until our last board meeting, and this should have been on the agenda at the last board meeting. And then we would have considered it at that point, because people have been looking to irrigate, and they have been irrigating. I've even seen some pretty green lawns. But this is the water conservation requirements that meet the state's mandate. We are going to have to reduce our consumption by 25%, probably continuously forever, once the state board gets through their exercise, from our consumption in 2013. That's not on an every individual customer basis, that's on a district-wide basis. Okay? Yeah. So it's up to us to adopt the regulations that get us there, whatever types of regulations we think will make sure get us to that point. Right now, we don't have a water supply warning, a water supply emergency in that. In the foreseeable future, between the combination of the water in Lake McClure and the wells, we have adequate water supply where we are not requiring cutbacks just because that will help us have enough water bill. Okay? That doesn't mean something doesn't fail between now and then, but between now and the end of December, we expect to have adequate water supply. We want to be as consistent as we can with what the state is doing, because that is what the state, that's what the majority of the water agencies in the state are going to do, and so from community to community, it feels consistent. That this is your staff's recommendation here on this one. And so this, I don't know if there are any specific questions on these requirements, but that's the meat of the resolution. Backing up to the beginning of it.
What page is the resolution on?
The resolution, I'm going to go to the
31.
That was the original.
That was
yes,
the original.
but
yes.
that's okay. He's using the original one, so that's, which is fine, because it is not. We're not looking at a different resolution language here.
Did I ask one question on these,
Yeah.
on the items 1 through 16?
Yes.
In most cities and counties, they list specific, like the odd, even, and I've heard, by not having any kind of, and I think it's great that we don't have it, because all it does is add confusion. You can irrigate 3 days a week, so on and so forth.
Right.
Does that, since we don't have that address, do you feel from your perspective of dealing with other agencies, not saying odd numbers irrigate these days, even numbers, do you think we're running into any confusion? Because our customers hear odd, even days out there on the radio and so on and so forth. I'm comfortable with this. I'm just saying from a consistency standpoint, because of all the media advertisements, should we say it in here? You can irrigate, pick your days, and I'm just trying to say.
My only guidance would be the concern would be if we do not meet the state requirement at the end of the year.
Right.
Okay. I don't think they're going to come at you with big fines, but we certainly should be concerned about it. Let's just say we have this in place, and we get into late summer, and people are, it's only 10% down from 2013 or something. I don't expect it to get that bad, but if it is something that we need to make adjustments on, we would have to go to more stringent requirements. The odd, even watering is a little bit more stringent, even if you still say it's 25%. It is the irrigation that gets people out of control. It is the irrigation that gets people over their consumption cutbacks. So it would be a good idea if we have concerns that people are not going to be able to cut back by just having the flexibility.
Okay.
The thing is, from an enforcement perspective, we're not going to have the staffing to be able to enforce odd even in reality. I mean, we didn't have any staffing before and people did it, but we did have odd even warning.
The bottom line is we conserve better than anybody else in the state, period. Thank you, folks.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that we're not water cops. You brought up the enforcement.
Right.
The 3 days a week is a little nebulous to me, and I think that people do better with a little more defined than that. I mean, we're not going to be the water police. The only way we're going to respond to anything is if somebody reports a huge leak or this person's wasting water or whatever. Somebody's got to call the office and say, hey, that's the only way we're going to respond, or somebody's meter is going to be off the map and you're going to go, whoa, what's going on here? Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a tad on the loose side.
Yeah, we can, that's at your discretion.
So would you like to see something a little bit more?
I'm prone to that. Let's put it that way. I'm not demanding a change. I'm just, if somebody else concurs with me, I just don't know he's making faces at me.
It's something
We
we can't,
don't read
if it's
that.
something we can't enforce, then why are we gonna do it? I mean, other than through customers complaining on each other, then you really can't come back and prove that he did or didn't do something. You look for water spot on the ground, photograph with a date and time. I don't know. Seems a little.
I don't know, yeah, we're not gonna be the water.
Seems obscure to me.
Okay, well, then let's just leave it as is, and I just would have a concern, that's why. Okay. So,
I would come back to the board in the event that we, if it appeared that there was going to be a problem with compliance, or that the restrictions were not getting us anything, and that for some reason we just couldn't keep up with the water supply, all of these I highly doubt, then we would look at some type of amended requirement. You remember the big meetings that we had with a couple hundred people in the audience. It seemed to be that the sentiment was, we'll do it, we'll comply, we'll get there, and if we can set an end date, that would be great, and leave us some flexibility if you can. So that's why this.
We also got that $1,027,000 grant. Some of that money is for water conservation, and it can dovetail into this so we can facilitate.
Smart irrigation controllers, conversion from spray irrigation to drip, installation of rainwater
stuff like that, and help maybe people that want to do
Right.
gray water systems or something else. At least facilitate a little bit.
Right. Yes, it will.
That's part of our grant. That's part of what we will be doing this summer, right?
We will. Be a little bit late summer, but it will be summer.
so did we get a motion?
No, I'll make a motion.
Okay, Jim?
I'll make a motion to approving the established revised water conservation requirements in accordance with state mandates.
Second. Russ seconded. Okay, any other comments from the board? Okay, public comment about, yes, ma'am. Ruth?
Are we on odd and even now?
No, that's what we were just discussing. So what it does, Ruth, is you can, right now you have the flexibility to pick 3 days a week to water. You can pick, if you want to water Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, then you can pick 3 days a week to water. That's how it's written today.
Okay.
That's what's going in, and I'm sure we'll get this posted on the website so people can read it.
Pardon?
No notification of that.
Yeah, because I'm still watering on odd and even.
Well, wait, you're not supposed to be watering at all.
I let mine die last year.
I
I'm not
know.
going to let them die.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's a good question, because we're kind of getting heat stroke, I think. Right now, we are basically still in the winter mode, which was from last December, where we had no irrigation outside at all. And we meant to do it, we meant to get this on the agenda last month to address this. So everybody started irrigating, we recognize that. And no, we're proposing that when we go back out now and we send something out, that it would be this. That says you water 3 days a week, it's not odd even, any of that.
This May, that cut off in April, wasn't it? So she's legal.
Yeah, we're not coming.
Yes, please.
Good.
The question I have, what about people with swimming pools?